The fluorescent lights above the diner counter flickered as James Crawford's hand froze halfway to his wallet. The whisper behind him was barely audible over the clatter of plates and sizzling bacon, but the words hit him like a punch to the gut. He'd never guess what we're planning. But what happened next shocked everyone in that small-town diner, including James himself. Let me take you back to where this all began, just 3 hours earlier on a crisp Tuesday morning in Cedar Falls, Michigan. James Crawford looked nothing like the successful entrepreneur who owned 6 thriving restaurants across the Midwest. Gone was the tailored suit and confident stride that commanded boardrooms. Instead, he sat in his rental sedan outside Maggie's diner, adjusting a worn baseball cap and checking his reflection in the rearview mirror. At 42, James had built his empire from nothing, but lately, something had been eating at him. His flagship location, this very diner, had been showing declining morale in employee surveys, and profits were slipping. Time to see what's really happening, he muttered, stepping out into the autumn air. The bell above the door chimed as James entered his own establishment, playing the role of just another customer. The familiar aroma of coffee and home-cooked breakfast filled his nostrils, but his trained eye immediately caught details others would miss. The worn spot on the linoleum near table 6. The way Sarah, his usually bubbly hostess, barely managed to smile as she grabbed a menu. "Just one this morning?" Sarah asked, her voice lacking its typical warmth. "Yes, ma'am," James replied, adopting a slight drawl he'd practiced in the car. "Heard you folks make a mean cup of coffee." Sarah led him to a corner booth, the vinyl cracked from years of use. As she walked away, James noticed her shoulders sagged with an exhaustion that went beyond a busy morning shift. Little did she know that her boss was sitting just feet away, cataloging every detail. The next 20 minutes revealed a troubling pattern. Marcus, the line cook, moved with mechanical precision but none of his usual flair. Lisa, the young server with dreams of nursing school, fumbled orders and apologized repeatedly to customers. Even Tom, the assistant manager James had personally trained, seemed distracted and short with the staff. "What can I get you, sir?" Lisa appeared at his table, her name tag slightly crooked, dark circles under her eyes despite her attempt to cover them with makeup. "Just some toast and coffee, sweetheart," James said gently, studying her face. He'd hired Lisa 2 years ago, impressed by her determination to work while pursuing her education. Now she looked like she hadn't slept in days. "White, wheat or rye?" she asked, pen poised over her order pad. "Whatever's easiest for you." Lisa's eyes flickered with surprise at his consideration. I'll get you the wheat. It's fresh." As she walked away, James caught a glimpse of her trembling hands. This decision would change everything because what he was about to discover would shake his understanding of everything he thought he knew about his business. 20 minutes later, James approached the counter to pay his check, the simple breakfast sitting heavy in his stomach alongside his growing concerns. The register area bustled with activity, Tom counting the morning's receipts, Marcus calling out orders, and Sarah restocking napkin dispensers with methodical precision. He handed Lisa a $10 bill for his $4 meal, insisting she keep the change despite her protests. It was then, as he waited for his receipt, that he heard them. 2 voices, just behind the coffee station, speaking in urgent whispers. James strained to listen without appearing obvious, his heart rate quickening as fragments reached his ears. Can't keep going like this. He has no idea what we're dealing with." And then, clear as day, the words that stopped him cold. "He'd never guess what we're planning." The blood drained from James's face as Lisa handed him his receipt. Her eyes met his for just a moment, and he saw something there. Fear, guilt, maybe both. The real shock was still coming, but James knew in that instant that whatever his employees were planning, it was about to turn his world upside down. As he forced himself to walk calmly toward the exit, his mind raced with possibilities, each one more devastating than the last. The whisper left James frozen mentally, but physically, he kept moving, already committing himself to unraveling this mystery that threatened everything he'd built. What were his own employees planning behind his back? The whisper echoes in James's mind as he stands frozen at the counter, his coffee growing cold in his trembling hands. He'd never guess what we're planning. The words slice through the diner's ambient noise like a knife through butter. Every instinct screams at him to turn around, to demand answers, but his years of business experience have taught him the value of patience and observation. James forces himself to remain calm, sliding a $5 bill across the counter with steady fingers. "Keep the change," he murmurs to the cashier, a young woman with tired eyes who barely acknowledges his generosity. As he retreats to a corner booth, his mind races with possibilities. Are his employees planning to quit en masse? Steal from him? Or something worse? From his strategic vantage point, James begins to study his staff with the intensity of a detective. The breakfast rush is in full swing, and the diner pulses with energy. Waitresses weave between tables with practiced precision, their sneakers squeaking against the checkered linoleum floor. The smell of bacon and coffee fills the air, but James can't shake the feeling that something sinister lurks beneath the surface of this seemingly normal morning. His attention settles on Lisa Hernandez, a server he'd hired just 6 months ago. She's usually one of his most reliable employees, but today something seems off. Her smile appears forced as she takes orders, and James notices her hands shaking slightly as she pours coffee for a regular customer. When she thinks no one is looking, Lisa's shoulders sag with exhaustion, and she rubs her temples as if fighting off a headache. James watches as Lisa steps behind the counter during a brief lull, pulling out her phone with urgent fingers. He can't hear her conversation, but her body language screams distress. She paces in the small space behind the register, one hand pressed to her forehead, the other gripping her phone like a lifeline. When she hangs up, tears glisten in her eyes, and she quickly wipes them away before returning to her tables. "Everything okay, Lisa?" asks Miguel, the head cook, noticing her distress as he slides a plate of eggs Benedict across the pass. "Just some family stuff," Lisa replies, but her voice wavers. "My mom's insurance isn't covering her new medication, and I don't know how we're going to afford it. The bills keep piling up, and with my student loans." Her voice trails off as she realizes other staff members are listening. James feels a pang of guilt. He had no idea Lisa was struggling financially. He'd always prided himself on being a caring employer, but clearly, he'd missed something crucial. But wait, could Lisa's financial troubles be connected to the whisper he overheard? James's business mind immediately begins calculating possibilities. Desperate people sometimes make desperate choices. Had Lisa gotten involved in something illegal to pay her bills? As the morning progresses, James continues his covert surveillance, ordering another coffee to justify his extended stay. He watches the intricate dance of his employees, looking for signs of conspiracy or deceit. Mark Thompson, his most charismatic server, seems to be at the center of several hushed conversations. James notices how other staff members gravitate toward Mark, seeking his opinion on everything from table assignments to customer complaints. But it's the way Mark keeps glancing toward the back office that sets James's nerves on edge. Every few minutes, Mark's eyes drift toward the closed door marked Manager. And each time, his expression darkens slightly. Is Mark the source of the whisper James overheard? "Did you hear about the new health benefits package some diners are offering?" Mark says loudly enough for several employees to hear. "Full coverage, dental, even mental health support. Must be nice to work for an owner who actually cares about his people." The comment hits James like a physical blow. He'd been working on implementing better benefits for months, but the paperwork and insurance negotiations had been moving slowly. His employees clearly felt neglected, and that knowledge burns in his chest. Lisa approaches Mark during another quiet moment, and James strains to hear their conversation. "I can't keep doing this," Lisa whispers urgently. "The stress is killing me, and my mom needs those medications now." Mark places a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Trust me, everything's going to change soon. We just need to stick to the plan." James's blood runs cold. What plan? His worst fears seem to be materializing before his eyes. As Lisa nods reluctantly and returns to her tables, James feels a crushing weight settle on his shoulders. But then something unexpected happens. As Lisa clears a nearby table, she accidentally knocks over a salt shaker. As she bends to clean it up, she mutters under her breath, "I just hope Mr. Washington understands when we tell him tomorrow night." James's heart stops. Tomorrow night? Tell him what? The pieces of the puzzle are falling into place, but the picture they're forming is more terrifying than he'd imagined. The whisper echoes in James's mind as he forces himself to remain calm, his hands still reaching for his wallet. He'd never guess what we're planning. The words circle like vultures, and James realizes he can't just walk away. Not now. Not when his entire business might be at stake. He takes his tray and finds a corner booth where he can observe without drawing attention. The toast sits untouched as his eyes scan the dining room with new intensity. Every interaction between staff members suddenly feels loaded with meaning. Every hushed conversation could be the conspiracy he overheard. That's when he notices Mark Thompson more closely. The server moves through the diner with an easy confidence that commands attention from both customers and coworkers. James watches as Mark leans against the counter during a brief lull, his voice carrying just enough for James to catch fragments. "Tonight after closing," Mark says to another server, his tone casual but his eyes scanning the room. "Make sure everyone knows." James's pulse quickens. This is it. This is the connection he's been looking for. He stands and approaches the counter, pretending to need more napkins. Mark flashes that winning smile that probably earns him the best tips, but James detects something calculated behind it now. "Great service today," James says, testing the waters. "You guys seem like a tight-knit team." Mark's expression shifts almost imperceptibly. "Yeah, we look out for each other here. Have to, you know? Sometimes management doesn't always understand what we need." The words hit James like a physical blow. His own employees talking about him like he's some distant, uncaring figure. But he keeps his expression neutral, even friendly. "That's tough when the boss doesn't get it." James agrees, the irony burning in his throat. "Exactly." Mark's guard drops slightly. "But we're working on changing that. Got some ideas brewing." He glances toward the kitchen, then back to James. "Sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands." James nods, filing away every word. "Sounds like you're planning something big." Mark catches himself, the openness disappearing behind that practiced smile. "Just trying to make things better for everyone. You know how it is." But James does know how it is now. The pieces are falling into place with devastating clarity. His staff doesn't trust him. Worse, they're actively plotting against him, and he's been completely blind to their frustration. He returns to his booth, his mind racing through every decision he's made as owner. The policy changes, the scheduling adjustments, the cost-cutting measures that he thought were smart business moves. How many of those decisions created the resentment he's witnessing now? The afternoon crawls by as James continues his surveillance. He notices how Mark gravitates toward certain employees, how conversations quiet when supervisors pass by, how glances are exchanged like secret codes. The operation is more sophisticated than he initially realized. Around 4 o'clock, James watches Mark approach Lisa Hernandez near the coffee station. The conversation appears casual from a distance, but James notices Lisa's body language immediately. Her shoulders tense, her hands fidget with her apron strings. This isn't friendly workplace banter. "I can't be part of this," Lisa's voice carries just clearly enough for James to hear. "What if we're wrong about everything?" Mark's response is quieter, more insistent. James strains to listen but only catches fragments. "Already committed." And "No backing out now." Lisa shakes her head emphatically, but Mark places a hand on her arm, his grip looking firmer than friendly. The interaction sends alarm bells through James's mind. Whatever they're planning involves Lisa, and she clearly has reservations. As the day shift transitions to evening, James makes a critical decision. He can't reveal himself yet, not until he understands the full scope of what he's dealing with. But he also can't let whatever they're planning move forward without knowing more. He approaches the counter one final time, catching Mark during a brief quiet moment. "Hey, I couldn't help but notice you mentioned some changes coming. As a regular customer, should I be worried about anything?" Mark studies James's face carefully, and for a terrifying moment, James wonders if his cover is blown. Then Mark leans in conspiratorially. "Let's just say the management here is about to get a wake-up call. Things are going to change real soon, and trust me, it'll be better for everyone who actually cares about this place." The conviction in Mark's voice is unsettling. This isn't just employee grumbling or a minor grievance. This feels organized, planned, and potentially destructive. James leaves the diner with his head spinning, but as he reaches his car, he notices something tucked under his windshield wiper. A folded piece of paper, unmarked and plain. His hands shake as he unfolds it, revealing a message written in hurried handwriting. "If you really care about what happens to this place, meet me in the parking lot at midnight. Come alone. A friend." The note isn't signed, but James stares at the words until they blur. Someone else knows more than they're letting on, and they want to talk. Tonight, in just a few hours, he might finally get the answers he needs. But as he drives home, one question haunts him above all others. In a conspiracy involving his own employees, who exactly can he trust? The anonymous note crinkles in James's palm as he reads it for the third time. "Meet behind the diner at 11 p.m. if you want answers." His heart pounds against his ribs. After 3 days of playing customer in his own establishment, he's finally getting somewhere. The clock above the grill reads 10:45 p.m. The last customer left 20 minutes ago, and most of the day shift has clocked out. But James notices two figures still moving around inside Lisa and Mark. Through the front window, he watches them in what appears to be an intense conversation near the prep station. He circles around to the back alley, his footsteps echoing off the brick walls. The dumpster casts long shadows under the flickering security light. James positions himself behind a delivery truck, close enough to hear but hidden from view. His breath forms small clouds in the cool night air. The back door creaks open. Lisa steps out first, her shoulders hunched with obvious stress. Mark follows, closing the door with deliberate quietness. "I can't keep doing this," Lisa whispers, her voice barely audible. "It's eating me alive." Mark leans against the brick wall, his usual charming demeanor replaced by something harder. "You think I'm enjoying this? But we're too far in now." James feels his throat tighten. "My student loans are killing me." Lisa continues, her voice cracking. $60,000, Mark. The payments alone are more than what I make here in tips. My mom's been covering my rent, and she's already working 2 jobs. Which is exactly why this has to work. Mark replies, his tone shifting to something almost manipulative. "We both know James doesn't care about us. When's the last time you got a real raise? When's the last time anyone here could afford health insurance?" James grips the note tighter. Every word hits like a punch to the gut. He's been so focused on growing his business empire that he never realized his own employees were drowning. But Mark's next words make his blood run cold. "That's why we need him gone. The union rep said if we can document enough workplace violations, we can force him to sell. Then the new owners might actually treat us like human beings." Lisa shakes her head violently. "Creating fake violations is illegal, Mark. And that customer today, the one asking all those questions, what if he's some kind of investigator?" James's heart stops. "They're talking about him." "Relax," Mark says with a cruel smile. "That guy's just another lonely customer looking for conversation. Besides, by the time anyone figures anything out, James will be finished. The health department surprise visit next week will seal the deal." A health department setup. James feels sick. His own employees are sabotaging everything he's built, and worse, they believe he deserves it. "I never signed up for this," Lisa says, tears now flowing freely. "I just wanted better benefits. I didn't want to destroy anyone." "Sometimes you have to break things to fix them," Mark replies coldly. "James has had plenty of chances to do right by us. Now it's our turn." James can't take any more. He steps out from behind the truck, his shadow falling across both employees. Actually, maybe it's time we all talked. Lisa gasps and stumbles backward. Mark's face goes through a range of emotions. Surprise, fear, then defiance. Well, Mark says, recovering his composure. The mysterious customer. Let me guess. You're working for James, aren't you? Some kind of corporate spy. James looks between them, seeing Lisa's terror and Mark's calculated aggression. Actually, Mark, I am James. The words hang in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Lisa's hand flies to her mouth. Mark's confident facade crumbles completely. You're lying? Mark whispers, but his voice lacks conviction. James pulls out his wallet and shows them his driver's license, his business cards, his keys to the building. James William Patterson, owner of Patterson's Diner. And apparently, according to what I just heard, your target. Lisa begins sobbing uncontrollably. Oh God. Oh God. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I just need help, and I didn't know how to ask. Mark backs toward the door, but James blocks his path. Nobody's going anywhere until we figure this out. You want to talk about workplace violations? Let's talk about employees conspiring to frame their employer. Let's talk about fake health department calls. The confrontation intensifies as Mark realizes he's trapped. You think you're some kind of hero? You pay us minimum wage while you drive around in a luxury car. You don't know what it's like to choose between groceries and rent. James feels the weight of every accusation. You're right. I don't know. But instead of coming to me, instead of having an honest conversation, you decided to destroy me. The three of them stand in the alley, years of miscommunication and missed opportunities hanging heavy between them. Lisa continues crying. Mark looks ready to bolt. And James realizes that everything he thought he knew about his business is wrong. But then Lisa looks up, her eyes red and desperate. Please, Mr. Patterson, if you'll just listen, I'll tell you everything. The whole truth about what's been happening here, and why your employees feel like they have no choice but to fight back. James nods slowly, his heart breaking for reasons he's only beginning to understand. Lisa takes a shaky breath, tears streaming down her face as she looks directly at James. The truth is, we weren't plotting against you personally. We were trying to organize a union because we thought you didn't care about us. Her voice cracks. Mark convinced us that you were just another rich owner who saw us as replaceable. We heard rumors about layoffs coming, about benefit cuts. We were scared. James feels his heart sink as the pieces fall into place. The whisper he overheard wasn't about betrayal or theft. It was about desperation. Lisa, what rumors? I never. The healthcare thing, Mark interrupts, his earlier bravado completely gone. When corporate sent those benefit review forms last month, we thought it meant cuts were coming. Lisa's been rationing her insulin because she couldn't afford the copays. We all assumed you knew and didn't care. The weight of the revelation hits James like a physical blow. He remembers those forms, routine annual reviews he'd ordered to actually improve benefits, not cut them. The irony is devastating. While he was secretly observing his staff to understand their needs, they were secretly organizing because they thought he was indifferent to those same needs. Lisa, you're rationing insulin? James's voice is barely a whisper. How long has this been going on? 3 months, she admits, wiping her eyes. Ever since my hours got cut back. I didn't want to ask for more shifts because I thought you were already planning to let people go. James runs his hands through his hair, the full scope of the communication breakdown becoming clear. Your hours got cut because I thought you wanted more time for school. Sarah mentioned you were struggling with your course load. I never said that. Lisa looks confused. I love working here. School is tough, but this job is everything to me. It's my lifeline. The silence in the diner is profound. James looks around at the empty space. His diner, his pride and joy, where his employees have been suffering in silence while he observed from the shadows thinking he was being thoughtful and strategic. I need to tell you both something, James says, his voice thick with emotion. I wasn't here as a customer doing some casual check-in. I've been coming here undercover for weeks because I wanted to understand what you all really needed. I've been working on a comprehensive benefits package that includes full healthcare coverage, tuition assistance, and profit sharing. I wanted to surprise everyone, but I realize now how incredibly wrong I was to keep it secret. Mark's eyes widen. You were planning to help us? But why didn't you just tell us? Because I thought if I observed quietly, I'd get honest insights into what would actually make your lives better. Instead, my silence made you think I didn't care at all. James shakes his head. The very thing I was trying to prevent, disconnect between us, I created by being secretive about trying to fix it. Lisa sinks into a nearby chair. So there were never going to be layoffs? No benefit cuts? Never. In fact, I've already spoken with 3 insurance companies about covering prescription costs at 100%. I know about your insulin, Lisa. I know about Carlos's daughter's medical bills, about Sarah's mom's physical therapy needs. I've been trying to find ways to help without making anyone feel like they owed me something. The transformation in the room is palpable. Mark, who had seemed so antagonistic just minutes before, looks genuinely ashamed. James, I'm the one who stirred everyone up. I thought you were just another corporate type who didn't see us as real people. I pushed the union idea because I've been burned by owners before. Mark, wanting fair treatment isn't wrong. The fact that you were willing to advocate for your coworkers shows leadership. But next time, can we try talking first before organizing in secret? James walks to the counter and pulls out a folder he'd been carrying in his jacket. This is what I've been working on. He spreads out documents showing the new benefits package, the profit-sharing plan, the tuition assistance program. I wanted to present this at next month's staff meeting as a surprise. But clearly, surprises aren't what we need right now. We need transparency. Lisa stares at the papers, her hand covering her mouth. This would cover everything. My insulin, my school loans, even dental work I've been putting off for 2 years. That's exactly the point. You shouldn't have to choose between your health and your education. None of you should have to worry about basic needs while working for me. The 3 of them stand in the quiet diner as the first rays of dawn begin filtering through the windows. The conspiracy that James feared was really just people trying to take care of each other in the face of what they thought was indifference from above. So what happens now? Mark asks quietly. James looks at both of them, really looks at them not as a hidden observer but as their employer and, hopefully, their ally. Now we do things differently. No more secrets, no more assumptions. We communicate openly about what everyone needs to thrive here. And Mark, I want you to help me roll out these changes. Your instinct to protect your coworkers is exactly the kind of leadership this place needs. As they walk toward the door together, Lisa turns back one more time. James, why did you really choose to go undercover instead of just asking us directly what we needed? He pauses, considering the question. Because I was afraid that if I asked directly, you'd tell me what you thought I wanted to hear instead of the truth. But I learned something important. Trust has to be given before it can be received. I should have trusted you all enough to be honest from the start. The morning shift will arrive in a few hours, and everything will be different. Not because of secret plans or whispered conspiracies, but because 3 people chose honesty over assumption, communication over secrecy. Sometimes the most powerful transformations happen not through grand gestures, but through the simple revolutionary act of actually listening to each other. What assumptions are you making about the people in your workplace, your community, your family? Sometimes the whispers we fear most are really just people trying to find their voice in a world where they feel unheard.